Kristin, what is today? It is our 100th episode.
Yes, 100.
I can't believe it. So 5 years in the making, FountainCast, thrilled to be here. We are going to celebrate by doing something different called the Fast Five. So since we've been doing podcasts for 5 years and this is our 100th episode, today we're going to bring you 5 questions Kristin doesn't know I'm going to ask her about Kristin, and Kristin's going to have 5 questions for me. And we have not pre-rehearsed. We don't know what we're asking each other.
Right.
But
I'm
super
in the hot
excited
seat today.
Yes. So I'm going to start, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
So Kristin, how did you and Troy meet?
Troy and I met. Actually, we grew up in the same small town. So in a small town, you know everyone. It's kind of like Fountain Hills, right? So we knew who we were. And actually, I have an older brother. And so he was friends with Troy. And that was just kind of how I knew Troy. And yeah,
That's awesome.
It just went from there.
And all these years later.
Yes, all these years later, yes.
That's awesome. Okay, you go.
All right. Betsy, tell me about your first job.
My first job, my very first job was at Michael's Fountain View. Michael's Fountain View, I was 13 years old, and I was bussing tables. And Michael's Fountain View in Fountain Hills is where Messenger Mortuary is today. And so it was originally a restaurant, and you had a beautiful view of the fountain because there was nothing built in between. And I was a horrible busser, but that was my very first job. And, first real job, I would say, because coming from an entrepreneurial family, of course, we were working from the time we could walk because that's what you do
same.
with your family. But yes, Michael's Fountain View.
Wonderful. And did they have like a landing pad back there for people coming into Fountain Hills? I feel like I've heard that story before.
Yes,
do you know about that?
It was very swanky.
Yes.
And my 13-year-old self, I thought it was very high end and posh. Yes.
Oh, I bet so.
Yes.
How cool.
I know.
Very cool.
Yes. Now I want to ask you the same question, but I'm not going to. Okay. So what was your and Troy's, if you don't mind speaking also for Troy, first impression or maybe a continuing impression of the mountains, because you came from plains, right? Where you're from, it's really flat.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So tell me about that experience.
We helped our friends. I feel like I've shared about this a little bit previously in a prior podcast, but we had friends that moved to Fountain Hills a year before us. And we actually came out with the idea of maybe checking out the area a little bit. And we ended up staying in Scottsdale for finding accommodations for our entire family. But driving into Fountain Hills was like, oh my goodness. Like it was just, I was almost kind of overwhelmed. I remember driving down Palisades and, the road kind of curves and you're up higher and you're going down this road and, there's all of these mountains around you. And it was just quite incredible. Like this, where are we?
Right.
You're in the desert. It's a totally different ecosystem. And we visited in the summer, the worst time of the year, right? I mean, blazing hot. It was well over 100.
Yeah.
So we knew what that was going to look like for us. And then I remember myself and our 2 youngest, we kind of took off and drove out in the McDowell Mountains and went to the park out there and drove around a little bit. And, it was just seeing the cactus, you just see pictures of them and you don't realize what that looks like when you just see it on TV. So yeah, I mean, it was just so amazing and impressive. And the desert has its own way of leaving an impression on you that you either like it or you don't. But yeah, we liked it.
Awesome.
Here we are.
So it did leave an impression.
Yeah.
A lasting impression.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
you guys moved here.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
All right. Let's see, Betsy, what do I have for you? Tell me about, I think you like music. What is the best concert you've ever attended from maybe when you were young to, all the way up until now?
Okay.
Music concert.
Okay. Oh, that's a really good one. So I saw Paul McCartney at ASU.
Really?
And that was one of my first concerts I'd ever been to. And I think that's mostly because it was one of my first concerts that it left a huge impression on me. And then I would say to my one of my most recent concerts, we saw Judas Priest, which is more my speed, which might surprise some people. And so those two, I would say, are the most memorable. Judas Priest was with Chuck and his sister, and so that was a new experience being with his family. And so, yes, that's a really good question. And I'm not really a concert lover, I
No?
will tell you. No. So I've gone with girlfriends. I've gone with Chuck. I've throughout the years, you feel like you should go to a concert.
Yes.
If you love their music, you should go to a concert. But maybe it's from living in Fountain Hills forever. I sound like a really old person. Just the crowds and going through the security and everything that goes with a massive concert is not really my vibe. And so I'm not a huge concert lover unless it's a smaller venue and a smaller concert and you could just truly enjoy the music. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when I took Madigan to Taylor Swift twice and spent a mortgage payment on it.
Bet.
And literally having the audience sing the popular songs. I didn't pay to hear the audience.
Yeah.
I paid to hear you sing,
Yes.
right? So just things like that. And I just get kind of grouchy and curmudgeon.
I'm totally with you on the smaller concert venues. I mean, it's got to be someone really, really famous, really good, a lot of maybe history, to go to a stadium to see someone because you're in throngs of people and the security and
everything that goes with
and the
it.
ticket price.
The ticket price. I am not exaggerating when I say a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Holy crud.
Yes.
Okay. So your children and mine are similar ages. And so we will be empty nesters in the next 3 or 4 years if they move out, right? If that's a thing and they actually move out. And so what is your 5-year plan? Just if you want to share a few things, what do you think it's going to be like when Lee's out of the house, when you're an empty nester?
I'm beginning to know that is going to be very strange because we are already, he's busy out with friends. Like no one's there to eat a meal anymore. I've run into that a few times. I'm like, why did I make dinner? No one's here to eat it. I can see that. Like, Troy, let's go out for dinner. It's going to be different. I know that. 5-year plan. I'm not exactly sure what that all entails. Troy and I, though, have had this picture of some lake water for many years. And there is a lake house in our future. Not exactly sure where that is at yet, but we want a house near the water. And so we know that that's definitely in the 5-year plans. And we have some things like, that's going to go to the lake house. That's for the lake house. So,
I love it.
That's definitely in the plans. But we would love to have houses all over the country. And I know that even our oldest son, he talks about having that and having different places that we can all kind of meet up or go to and visit if we want to. We, like most people, we love to travel and, seeing the country and appreciating it is definitely on our list too.
That's awesome. So if each one of your kids has the home and you have a couple homes, you have lots of choices.
Right.
Yeah. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Betsy, I'm going to ask you the same thing because I think it's an intriguing question. Can I ask you that?
Yes,
5-year plans.
Absolutely. It was really funny because I'm with you. I don't necessarily have a clear picture of what that looks like. I do know people have told me you better like your husband for when the kids leave because that's all you've got when you're at the house. You better enjoy each other's company. And so I know that I do think that we will allow ourselves to travel more. Right now, we only travel for work or for the kids. Truly, that's about it. And so I do know that we'll allow ourselves to travel more. But beyond that, I need to start putting that, dream cap on and start thinking about what that looks like. I do think that it'll be difficult to make that transition potentially. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know that every family is so different and that some kids don't leave too. So they leave and they come back.
Right. Yes,
right.
Yeah.
Which that can happen. So I also know that maybe don't get too used to the empty nester because it might have a revisit where the family's all back together again. So
yes,
I'm
there's
not
more
sure.
of that, I feel like, than there used to be.
Right.
Yes, the returning back to home for a bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I do look forward to my house actually being clean and staying clean. That sounds amazing to not have all the children.
Yes, yeah.
I'll take a dirty house to have the kids, of course, any day. But it'll be a transition for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do know that means I'll have to unload the dishwasher every day by myself. We always give our youngest son a hard time that was why we had 3 children, just to make sure we didn't have to unload the dishwasher ourselves every single day. We just kid him about that.
I do think we will not realize how much we miss the hustle and bustle until we don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Because with kids' sports and different things that you have going on, there's so many activities all the time. And I think that will be a hole that we'll feel like we need to fill.
Yeah.
And maybe we shouldn't, because maybe we should finally just, be at peace and enjoy a slower pace. However, I'm not sure.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's a good question.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so I have one that maybe goes along with the 5-year plan. What is everyone in our office and everyone that knows Kristin knows that Kristin loves to hike. And and you are well hiked, if that's a sentence. What is your very favorite trail? I know that might be hard to narrow down.
Anywhere that I've hiked?
Anywhere that you've ever been. And then I might have you say it, and then also Arizona. But
all right. Boy. One that really sticks out is the river walk in Zion Canyon.
Ooh.
I'm drawing a blank on the name of that. The Narrows, the walk in there. We've done that twice. Absolutely incredible. Troy and I went the first time, and then the next year we're like, kids, you've got to go. We took the whole entire family back. We did that on the 4th of July.
Awesome.
The second time that we went, just this incredible experience. You're walking in the water. You've got to put on, the very sexy neoprene shoes and socks, and you've got a wooden hiking pole, and the water is cold, and you are hiking among these canyon walls that are millions upon millions of years old. And the water gets deeper, and you have to be smart and watch, where the water's at and pay attention to warnings and, things that are going on in the park, because flooding can occur and you don't want something horrible to happen.
Right.
But that has been one of our most incredible hikes. It is very difficult to do because you're walking on wet rocks the entire time.
Okay.
I fell the last time we went, we got near the end, everyone was getting pretty tired. I think we were a few miles in, and there was a very slippery part. There was someone hiking behind me, a stranger, and he fell, and I took 2 steps and I also fell, oh
my gosh.
Yeah, it's definitely a hike. You're sore, you're exhausted, but
and that's still your favorite.
Yes.
Even after all that.
So worth it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And on July 4th, was it hot?
Not too bad. I feel like it might have been in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was very chilly because you're in the canyon and there's not much sunshine peeking in.
Okay.
Once you get deeper into it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How long of a hike is that? It's far, right?
Yeah, it is. We only did, several miles in. I don't know if we did 3 miles in, maybe 2 or 3 we went. And it is much further. I want to say it maybe even goes to about 10 miles in, where you have to get a backpacking permit to be. Okay. Yeah. A backcountry permit, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of one of our goals too, is we would like to do that in reverse and get that permit and try to knock that out from the reverse way of the Narrows. And,
awesome. Yeah. Maybe this 4th of July.
Maybe so. Yes, maybe so.
Okay, so then, if you don't mind, one more question that's along those same lines. What about in Arizona?
In Arizona. Boy. I love Sedona. I do love going up there. Yes. Cathedral Rock, that was a very epic hike. Doing that, that was strenuous with some very vertical areas. Okay. And I did that with my very good friend Holly. We did that and both coaxed each other through the difficult parts. There was a part where she kind of wanted to stop and couldn't get her momentum to go up this steep part. I think I did that on the way down. She had to coax me. But that was really awesome to be way up there at Cathedral Rock.
That's awesome.
So that was neat.
What a sense of pride when you're done too, I'm sure. Especially if you had to push yourself through it.
Yes.
Or push her through it.
I think that's it. That's the challenge with it, right? Yes. But I also love, we have Adero Canyon in Fountain Hills. Such a gem to have that in our community, 10, 15 minutes from our homes. The trails out there are so amazing. And Butcher Jones at Lake Saguaro is always a favorite. Yeah.
That was one of Chuck and my first dates.
Really?
Yes. Sorry. Side note.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Yes.
You went for a hike out there? Or did you go to the
Butcher
lake?
Jones, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we went through around the actual hike that goes around it. Yes.
Yeah, it's an excellent hike.
Yes.
We usually take guests out there to do that one.
Since.
Really?
We should be hikers.
I'm going to be giving you a call, Betsy. Okay. We have to do a hike.
Yes. Okay, start off easy on me.
Is it my turn to go?
Yes, it's your turn.
All right. This is a little random, but we all like luxurious things that make us feel good. There's other times, if you're me, there's things you don't want to spend the money on. But what would you say is one luxury you personally think is worth the money, a splurge, if you're going to spend it?
If I'm going to spend the money, Gosh, anyone who knows me knows how frugal I am.
I know, right? That's
where
why
this
I thought
came
this
from?
would be an interesting question for you.
Okay, so I'm very girly, as most of you all know. So I do like, hair and makeup
Yeah.
and clothes and fashion and bags, nice bags. I also like vintage. And so I would say vintage, high-end bags or coats. So a couple of my favorite gifts I've ever received were from Chuck, and one was a vintage Louis Vuitton bag that he had to scour the earth
my
for
gosh.
to get a really good price because it's a bigger bag, and then also a Burberry coat.
Wow.
Same thing. They're vintage. They're not new. I know he got them for a really good price. I absolutely love them. And I didn't personally spend my money on them, so I don't know if they were both gifts.
I'll say it
so I don't know
counts.
if it counts. Okay. I spend more money on my kids than I do on myself, but I think that's pretty normal as a parent. So
I'm with you in the vintage aspect. I see something, it could be pottery. It could be all sorts of things. But if it's
Yes.
vintage, it's worth it.
It is worth it. It tells the story behind it, too. There's always a
does.
story. And if you don't know the story, then make it up.
Right.
Create your own story.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we have one more question. So my last question for you is, what is your favorite meal to cook?
Ooh, my favorite meal to cook. I love to cook, actually. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time to do that these days.
Yes.
But I did get a pasta maker for Christmas a couple years ago. And that is, I would say, probably my newest passion is making homemade pasta.
Oh my
I
gosh.
do get some help from Lee on that. I usually make the dough and let it set, and I can usually twist his arm to, try the pasta out. And then if we have guests, the other kids, a lot of times they want to jump in and make the noodles too.
Awesome.
But that, I would say, has been my latest passion. At Christmas, we made homemade lasagna from scratch, lasagna noodles,
my
homemade
gosh.
sauce. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It sounds
and
amazing.
Homemade fettuccine. We've done a lot of spaghetti and meatballs lately. That's been my latest passion, I would
Okay.
say. That's
That's
been
awesome.
my favorite thing to cook. And then now that I'm making this homemade pasta, it is so hard to eat store-bought pasta.
It's night and day different,
It
right?
is. It is night and day difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you should do the next staff lunch.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
We'll hire Kristin internally to do our next staff lunch. No, I've only had homemade pasta a handful of times, and I'm like, it's not even the same food.
Right.
It really doesn't even
yeah.
taste the same.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So I could see why that would be something that you'd be attracted to.
Yes.
Well, good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It is getting quicker, the process is with it. So the more you do it, the first time it's several hours or it feels like
Okay.
it takes forever. Also, it depends how much your dough recipe makes if you're,
Right.
making noodles for 1 hour or 30 minutes. So.
And have you tried multiple different recipes now for your dough? Or did you find one and you like it?
Yeah, basically found one that I like. It's so easy. It's just flour, eggs, and, a little bit of water.
Okay.
So, yeah. One recipe and it's the same. It's just halved.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool. Okay, now you're going to have to bring us some pasta.
Yeah, I know. See what I did?
See what you did? Oh, you're going to say, darn it, why did I say that? Okay, last question for me.
Let's go with what failure in life taught you the most?
Boy, that's a toughie.
Yeah.
End on a biggie. Okay.
Yes.
So so I never really feel like you fail in life because whenever you don't succeed, it always leads you to somewhere else. When they always say when a door
Yes.
closes, a window opens, or
Yes.
whatever that saying is. So I have tried multiple different businesses in my life. I choose to succeed at every single thing I do, which has always been my work drive, right? So I feel like I always have a success story when it comes to work. However, I have not had that kind of success necessarily personally, like with relationships. So I do think that failures in relationships have taught me what to look for in future relationships. So I think that's really important. Tried a couple times and had to do that a couple times, had to learn a couple times through that. But I truly think that would be the biggest one. It's really funny because I've always been in sales and people talk about the fear of rejection and having thick skin. And that's never bothered me. I learned early on, they're not rejecting me. They're rejecting whatever I'm offering.
Yeah.
And that's never been an issue. And, I have a high confidence level. So as long as I know what I'm talking about, we're good here,
Yeah.
right? However, when I was first single, I was like, oh my gosh, they're actually rejecting me. So it was a learning lesson that's what I was able to relate to people who in sales struggled with rejection because I had to feel that personally to know what they were feeling, like truly to put myself in their boots. And so I do think that was maybe a good life lesson, even for work, to be more compassionate or empathetic towards other people's feelings, because I'm pretty easily can, shut that down and go into work mode. So I think it was good for me to feel that failure in personal life so that I could learn in other areas too.
Yeah. I love that. I love how you, equated that to it. I always say you fail forward. You know that. So yes,
Absolutely.
there really is no failure. You're learning and you're going on and applying that experience to, whatever comes next.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Only time you really fail is if you quit.
Right.
And unless that quitting is the right step because you've achieved what you want to achieve. Otherwise, it's just a pivot.
Right. Yeah, it
just
really is.
Pivot, try something new, do something new, lick a finger, turn a page, keep going.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So for our 100th episode, we hope that you like something a little bit different today. I had a ton of fun.
I did too. Our listeners definitely learned some things about us that they probably don't get to hear about at a networking event, at the FH Connect breakfast or the mixer, right?
That's right. So a little insider scoop here. Thanks for watching and thanks for joining us.
See you soon.